I decided to visit my wife at her job as a CEO that Thursday morning. The thermometer read 15 degrees when I scraped frost off the windshield. My diesel truck coughed twice before catching. Winter always made it struggle. I'd packed Sarah's favorite roast beef sandwich. The thermos rattling against the passenger seat as I drove down Main Street. The sign stopped me cold. Black background, gold letters, under new management. Derek Brennan, president. My boots crunched through ice in the parking lot. The door handle stuck to my bare palm for a second before I yanked it free. Inside smelled like diesel exhaust and burnt coffee. The receptionist, Beth, I think, looked up from her computer. Her face went confused. Mr. Brennan? Sarah's in the back office now. Before I could ask what that meant, Derek appeared, my son, 40 years old and wearing boots so polished they'd never seen a field. Dad? He smiled like I was a customer. What brings you by? Across the room, Rita caught my eye. The bookkeeper, 30 years with us. She mouthed two words, call me. Then Sarah emerged from the hallway. Her face went white. Walter, what are you doing here? Derek's hand landed on my shoulder. Since you're here, let me show you the improvements. The way he said improvements made my jaw tighten. He walked me through like I was a stranger. Pointed out the new computer system, tracking inventory, the reorganized warehouse with color-coded zones. Sarah's old office, the one with windows facing Main Street, now had Derek's name on the door. We're streamlining operations, he said, bringing things into the 21st century. Where's Sarah working? I kept my voice level. Mom's in an advisory role now. He gestured towards the back hallway. Smaller office, but quieter, better for her to focus. Sarah stood frozen by the coffee pot. The same pot she'd filled every morning for 40 years. Now she held her mug, like she wasn't sure she was allowed to pour from it. Derek's been very helpful, she said, each word careful, measured. The business needed updating? Through the warehouse door, I heard a forklift beeping, the smell of hydraulic oil mixed with fresh coffee. Normal sounds, normal smells, but everything felt wrong, like walking into your own house and finding the furniture rearranged. We're positioning for growth. Derek checked his phone. Actually, I've got a call with suppliers. Dad, good seeing you. He was dismissing me. In the business, Sarah and I had started in 1983 with a bank loan and a handshake. Beth, the receptionist, wouldn't look at me as I left. Sarah rode home in silence. I turned the heat up. She was shivering despite her wool coat. The truck cab smelled like cold vinyl and the sandwich I'd forgotten to give her. What's going on? I finally asked. I told you. Reorganization. She stared out the window at brown fields dusted with snow. Derek's been taking on more responsibility. Your name's not on the building anymore. It's just a sign, Walter. It's your company. Her hands twisted in her lap. He's trying to help. I've been struggling lately, forgetting things. He's worried I'm overextended. That stopped me. What things? Little things, where I put files. Whether I called a supplier back. She wouldn't look at me. He suggested I see a doctor, get checked out. My knuckles went white on the steering wheel. 44 years I'd known this woman. She was sharp as a tack, could quote prices from 3 years back, never missed a delivery date. Did you? I have an appointment next week. Her voice got smaller. Derek set it up. In the back office? Temporary. Until we finalize the transition plan. She said it like she'd memorized the words. There's a board meeting, March 15th. They'll vote on the new structure. March 15th, 3 months away. Sarah, I'm tired, Walter. Can we talk about this later? I pulled into our driveway. 12 acres we'd bought when Sarah made her first real profit. The house we'd raised Derek in, back when he was a kid who helped me feed cattle instead of whatever he'd become. Inside, Sarah went straight upstairs. I heard the bedroom door close. Then, quiet as anything, the sound of her crying. I stood at the bottom of the stairs with my hand on the rail. 44 years of marriage. And I couldn't remember the last time I'd heard her cry. She was the strong one, the one who'd built a business from nothing while I ran cattle auctions and called it a career. The crying stopped. I heard water running. She was washing her face, pulling herself together the way she always did. I should have gone up. Should have held her. Should have demanded she tell me what was really happening. Instead, I walked to the kitchen and made coffee I didn't want. Through the window, I could see Brennan Agricultural Supply from here, just a smudge on the horizon, but I'd been able to spot it for 20 years, Sarah's achievement, her legacy. Now our son's name was on it instead of hers. The coffee maker gurgled and spat. Outside, the wind picked up, rattling the window frames. The thermometer on the porch read 12 degrees and dropping. I pulled out my phone, found Rita's number. Then I heard Sarah's footsteps on the stairs, and I put the phone away. She appeared in the doorway, face composed, eyes dry. I'm going to lie down for a bit. Sure. I tried to smile. Want me to bring you anything? No, thank you. She went back upstairs. This time, I didn't hear crying. I didn't hear anything at all. The next morning, I was up before dawn. Old auctioneer habit. You learn to read livestock better in that first light before the heat or the crowd changes their behavior. I drove past Brennan Agricultural Supply at 6:15. Sarah's silver truck sat in the back lot, tucked behind the dumpsters where employees parked. The front spaces, the ones visible from Main Street, held Derek's Mercedes and two vehicles I didn't recognize. The lights were already on inside. I parked across the street at the gas station, engine idling. The cab heater clicked and hummed. My coffee had gone cold, but I kept the thermos in my hands for warmth. At 6:40, Derek's Mercedes pulled in. He was on his phone, laughing at something. His breath made clouds in the cold air as he walked to the door, never once looking toward Sarah's truck and back. Beth arrived at 7, looking like she hadn't slept. She sat in her car for 5 minutes before going inside, her hands on the steering wheel, just sitting there. At 7:30, a moving truck pulled up to the loading dock. I started my engine. Rita answered on the first ring. "Walt, I was hoping you'd call." "Coffee Shack Diner?" I said. 30 minutes. I'll be there." The diner smelled like bacon grease and burnt coffee. Rita was already in her back booth when I arrived, her purse clutched tight against her side. She'd been Sarah's bookkeeper since 1995, seen the business grow from 12 employees to 47. She looked terrified. "I shouldn't be doing this," she said as I slid into the booth. The vinyl cracked under my weight. "But I can't stay quiet anymore." She pulled a folder from her purse. Her hands shook as she opened it. "There are 2 sets of books," Rita said. "The ones Derek sees and the real ones." She spread ledgers across the table. One printed from the computer system Derek had installed. One handwritten in Sarah's careful script, the kind she'd kept since day one, before everything went digital. The numbers didn't match. "He's been cooking the books?" I leaned closer, scanning the columns. "Not exactly." Rita's voice dropped. "He's creating fake losses, payments to vendors that don't exist, equipment maintenance that never happened, making it look like Sarah's management is failing." My finger stopped on a line. "Hartley Equipment Services, $15,000. "I called them," Rita said. "There's no such company in Montana. The address doesn't exist." I looked at the next entry, and the next. 5 vendors, all fake. $73,000 over 2 years. Jesus Christ. That's not the worst part. Rita pulled out another document. "Derek's been telling Sarah she's forgetting things, leaving files in wrong places, missing calls she definitely returned. But Walt," her voice cracked, "he's the one moving the files, deleting phone logs, making her think she's losing her mind." The coffee in my gut turned to acid. He convinced her to take memory tests, told her she needs to see a neurologist. Rita's eyes were wet. "She thinks she has early dementia, Walt. She's been researching it. I found printouts in her desk." I stared at the ledgers, at my son's systematic destruction of his mother's confidence. Her business, her identity. Why would he do this? Control. Rita wiped her eyes. "The board votes in March on restructuring. If Sarah's deemed incompetent, Derek takes over completely. He's been positioning himself for 2 years. The board knows him. They won't. He's already talked to 3 of the 5 members. Planted seeds about Sarah's decline, mentioned her forgetting meetings, getting confused about numbers." Rita's jaw tightened. "And Walt, there's more. He's got doctors lined up to say she's incompetent. Medical evaluations scheduled. He's building a legal case." The diner's fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Someone dropped a plate in the kitchen. The ordinary sounds of a Thursday morning while my world came apart. "March 15th, I said. "Board meeting. They vote on leadership structure and a loan refinancing. Derek added a competency clause to the loan terms. If Sarah's deemed unable to lead, the bank can force her out." I looked at the woman who'd kept Sarah's books for 30 years, who'd watched my son grow up, who was risking everything to sit here and tell me the truth. "Why now, Rita? Why not tell us sooner?" Her face went pale. "Because he knows about Milwaukee." I waited. 20 years ago, I embezzled from my previous employer, paid it all back, did probation, thought it was behind me. Her voice shook. "Derek found out somehow. Said if I caused problems, he'd make sure everyone knew. Said Sarah would never trust me again. Sarah would understand." "Would she?" Rita looked at me. "I've been lying by silence for 2 years, Walt, watching him destroy her. How do I come back from that?" The waitress refilled my coffee. The smell of it, bitter, burned, made my stomach turn. "There's more?" Rita said quietly. "The March deadline isn't just about the board vote. If the loan isn't refinanced by the 15th, the bank can call it due immediately. Whole balance, $2.3 million. We've never missed a payment." "Doesn't matter. It's in the fine print," Derek added. She closed the folder. He's not just taking the company, Walt. He's making sure that if Sarah fights back, she loses everything. I sat back against the cracked vinyl. Through the window, I could see Main Street waking up. People heading to work. Normal Thursday in Granger, Montana, population 3,200. Nobody out there knew that my son was a stranger. That the boy I'd raised had turned into something I didn't recognize. That my wife was drowning and I'd been too comfortable in retirement to notice. What do I do? My voice came out rough. Rita's hand covered mine. You stop him, before March 15th. And she stood, left a $5 bill on the table. I'll keep the real books safe. But, Walt, if Derek finds out I talked to you, I lose everything. My job, my reputation, maybe worse. He won't hear it from me. She nodded and walked out. I sat alone with the ledgers. The evidence of my son's betrayal spread across diner laminate. Outside, the temperature had dropped. Snow was coming. My phone buzzed. Sarah, where are you? Coffee with Jean, I typed back. Home soon. I couldn't tell her yet. Not until I understood the full scope. Not until I knew how to fight this without losing her in the process. I paid the check and walked out into air so cold it hurt to breathe. Across town, a moving truck was taking Sarah's furniture to storage. I waited until that night. Sarah made dinner, pot roast, the same recipe she'd been making for 40 years. The kitchen smelled like onions and beef, but she barely touched her plate. I saw Rita today, I said. Her fork stopped halfway to her mouth. Oh? She showed me something. I pulled the folder from where I'd hidden it under my truck seat, set it on the table between us. Sarah stared at it like it was a snake. I don't want to see that. You need to. Walter, please. He's stealing from you. My voice came out harder than I meant. Creating fake vendors. Cooking the books to make you look incompetent. She stood up fast enough that her chair scraped against the floor. You don't understand. Then make me understand. You've been retired for 5 years. Her hands shook. You play poker with Jean once a week and fix things in the barn, and you're content. You don't know what it's like trying to keep up with everything. The technology, the regulations, the competition. So Derek's helping? Yes. But her voice cracked on the word. I opened the folder, showed her the dual ledgers, the fake vendors, the systematic erasure of her competence. She sank back into her chair. I knew, she whispered. That stopped me cold. What? Not all of it. Not the vendors. Her fingers traced the numbers Rita had highlighted. But I knew something was wrong. Files would be in different places than I left them. Phone messages would disappear. I'd remember calling someone back, but Derek would say I hadn't, and there'd be no record. Why didn't you tell me? Her laugh was bitter. Because I thought I was losing my mind, Walter. I thought he was right. She got up, walked to the counter, pulled out a stack of papers from behind the coffee maker, set them in front of me. Early onset dementia, warning signs, memory loss in your 60s, when to worry, Alzheimer's disease, what you need to know. My throat went tight. I've been reading these for 6 months. Her voice was steady now, but her eyes were wet. Taking notes, checking myself. Is it normal to forget where I put my keys? Is it normal to lose track of what day it is? Sarah, he convinced me, Walter. My own son convinced me I was incompetent, and I believed him. I stood, went to her, put my arms around her for the first time in weeks. She was shaking. I was so ashamed, she said into my shoulder. I thought if I told you, you'd see it too. That I was failing, getting old, becoming useless. You're not useless. I run a business, Walter. Or I did. That's who I've been for 40 years. If I can't do that anymore. Her voice broke. Who am I? I held her tighter. The kitchen was warm, but she felt cold against me. Outside, wind rattled the windows. The smell of pot roast had turned slightly burnt. He's gaslighting you, I said. It's got a name. It's what abusers do. He's my son. He's a thief. She pulled back, wiped her eyes, looked at the ledgers again. How much? 73,000 that Rita found. Probably more. Sarah sat down hard. Her business mind was clicking now. I could see it in her eyes. The fog of self-doubt clearing, replaced by the sharp focus that had built a $4 million company from nothing. The March 15th meeting, she said. He's planning to remove you. Has doctors ready to say you're incompetent. The loan refinancing. Has a competency clause. You fail, the bank can call the whole thing due. She looked at me then, really looked at me. You've been investigating. Since this morning. Without telling me. I didn't know how. I sat across from her. I didn't know if you'd believe me, or if you'd think I was just an old man who can't accept his wife is more successful than he ever was. The words hung between us. Is that what you think? I asked quietly. No, her voice softened. But I wondered if you thought it. If maybe Derek was right about me needing to step back, about me clinging to something I should let go. Sarah, look at me. She did. You built this business with nothing but grit and a handshake. You've got 47 employees who depend on you. Farmers who trust you to deliver on time, every time. You haven't missed a loan payment in 40 years. I tapped the real ledger. These numbers don't lie. The fake ones do, and you know the difference. I don't know anymore. Yes, you do. And I pushed the research papers toward her. You've been investigating yourself for 6 months, taking notes, checking facts. That's not what someone with dementia does. That's what a smart woman does when she's being manipulated. Her hands pressed flat against the table. I could see her thinking, calculating, the business mind coming back online. If we fight this, she said slowly, we fight Derek, our son. He fired the first shot 2 years ago. He'll destroy us. The doctor evaluations, the board members he's already talked to, the town gossip. And she looked up. And Walt, I've been playing into it, acting uncertain, second-guessing myself. I've given him ammunition. Then we stop giving him ammunition. How? We document everything. We investigate. We find every fake vendor, every manipulation, every lie. I pulled the folder closer. Rita's willing to testify, but we need more. She could lose her job. She's already losing her conscience. Sarah was quiet for a long time. The pot roast had gone cold. The kitchen windows were dark, full night now. Somewhere in the barn, the wind found a loose board and made it creak. I'm scared, she said finally. Me too. Not of losing the business, she looked at me. Of finding out how long I've been blind. How long you've been blind? How we let this happen to us? I didn't have an answer for that. She reached across the table, took my hand. Her fingers were cold. If we do this, she said, we do it together. No more hiding, no more shame. Together. I need to know you're really here, Walter. Not just retired and comfortable. Not just supportive from a distance. Her grip tightened. I need you present, active, fighting with me. I'm here. Promise me. I promise. She nodded, drew a shaky breath, looked at the ledgers again with clear eyes. First thing tomorrow, I want to see every file, every vendor, every... My phone rang, Gene Holloway, the banker, calling at 8:30 on a Thursday night. I need to take this, I said. Sarah nodded. I answered. Gene. Walt, his voice was tight. We need to talk. About Sarah's loan. My stomach dropped. What about it? Can you come to the bank tomorrow? Early, before we open. Why? A long pause. Then, Derek requested a competency evaluation, official one, from the bank's medical consultant. And Walt, he tried to bribe me to lose Sarah's payment history. Sarah was watching my face. I kept my voice level. 7 a.m.? I'll be here. I hung up. What is it? Sarah asked. Derek's moving faster than we thought. First Plains Bank opened at 8:30, but Gene let us in the back door at 7. The lobby was cold, radiator not kicked on yet. The smell of burnt coffee from yesterday's pot mixed with Gene's peppermint candies, the ones he kept in a bowl by the marble counter. He looked like he hadn't slept. Coffee? He offered. Just talk, Sarah said. Gene spread loan documents across his desk. His hands weren't steady. We'd known him 30 years, did poker every Thursday, went to the same church, watched each other's kids grow up. Now he looked like a man being forced to hurt his friends. Derek came to me 6 weeks ago, Gene said, wanted to discuss the March refinancing, said he was concerned about continuity of leadership. Continuity, Sarah repeated flatly. His words. He suggested adding language about competent management as a condition of renewal. Gene's finger tapped a highlighted section. Here. Borrower must maintain qualified leadership as determined by lender's medical and business consultants. I leaned closer. The signature at the bottom was Sarah's, except it wasn't. I didn't sign this, Sarah said. I know. Gene pulled out another document. This is the original from our files, your real signature. And this, he set them side by side. The pen pressure's different. The loops, it's a forgery. My hands clenched. He forged his mother's signature on a bank loan. Gets worse. Gene's jaw tightened. He hired a consultant, Dr. Morrison from Billings, paid him $5,000 to write a report on Sarah's competency based on, he made air quotes, behavioral observations and cognitive assessments. I never met any Dr. Morrison, Sarah said. That's because Derek provided the observations, secondhand reports of memory lapses, confusion, difficulty with complex tasks. Gene looked sick. Morrison wrote it up like a medical evaluation. It's in your loan file now. The radiator kicked on with a hiss and clank. Outside, someone scraped ice off a windshield, the sharp sound of metal on glass. The board meeting, I said. March 15th. Bank sends a representative. If Morrison's report stands and the board votes Sarah out, the competency clause triggers. Jean met Sarah's eyes. Bank can call the entire loan due. 2.3 million. 30 days. Sarah's face had gone pale. You'd never... I wouldn't. But Walt... Jean's voice dropped. Callahan's involved. What do you mean involved? Derek's been meeting with him. Regular lunches. Golf trips. Jean pulled out his phone, showed us photos. Derek and another man at a restaurant. At a golf course. Callahan's the senior loan officer. He'll be the bank representative at the board meeting. Can you stop him? Sarah asked. I've tried. Gone to the bank president twice. But Callahan's been here 20 years. I'm just a branch manager. Jean's hands spread helplessly. And Walt, Derek offered him money. $50,000 to lose Sarah's payment history. Make it look like she's been missing payments. Falling behind. Jesus Christ. The words came out before I could stop them. I turned him down, documented everything. But Callahan didn't. Jean's voice hardened. I think he took it. I can't prove it, but the way he's been acting... Sarah stood abruptly, walked to the window. The glass was fogged with condensation. Outside, Main Street was starting to wake up. So Derek's bought a bank officer, she said quietly. Forged my signature, paid for a fake medical report, and set up a financial trap that triggers if I'm removed. Yes. What are our options? Jean was quiet for a long moment. Legally? Limited. Forgery's hard to prove without a handwriting expert, and that takes time we don't have. Morrison's report looks legitimate on paper. Callahan's corruption is speculation. He looked at us. Your best shot is the board meeting itself. Make it public, make it ugly. Force Derek to defend himself in front of the whole town. And if that doesn't work, I asked, you lose everything. We drove home in silence. The truck cab smelled like cold vinyl and diesel. Sarah stared out the window at fields covered in dirty snow. I need to ask you something, she said finally. Anything. Why did you push Derek away from auctioneering? The question hit like a fist. What? 20 years ago, when he wanted to learn the trade. You told him it was dying. Told him to focus on business school. Her voice was careful, neutral. Why? I gripped the steering wheel tighter. It was good advice. Was it? Or were you protecting your territory? Sarah, he worshipped you, Walter. Followed you to every auction. Memorized your calls. Practiced in the barn when he thought no one was listening. She turned to look at me. And you shut him down. The memory came back sharp and clear. Derek at 19, summer before college, standing in the barn with my old gavel, the one I'd used for my first sale. His face bright with hope. Dad, I've been thinking. Maybe I could skip business school, learn auctioneering instead. We could work together, Brennan and Son. I'd been tired that day, hot, irritated about something I couldn't even remember now. Auctioneering's a dying trade, Derek. Everything's going online. You need a real education, real skills. But you made a good living. I scraped by. You want to scrape by your whole life? Go to school. Learn business. Build something that lasts. The hope had drained from his face. Replaced by something else. Something I'd been too stupid or too proud to recognize. Hurt. Deep, cutting hurt. Sure, Dad. Whatever you think. He'd set down the gavel and walked out. Never asked again. I thought I was helping him, I said now. You thought he wasn't good enough. Sarah's voice was gentle but firm. You thought he'd embarrass you, or compete with you, or show you up. And that's not... You never let him try, Walter. Never gave him a chance. She looked back out the window. And now he's spent 20 years resenting us. Building up to this, proving he's better than both of us. My throat was tight. I didn't mean... I know you didn't. But Derek doesn't care about your intentions. And she wiped her eyes. He cares that you rejected him, that you never believed in him. And now he's taking everything from us to prove a point. We pulled into our driveway. The house looked cold, unwelcoming. I turned off the engine but didn't move. What do I do? I asked. You can't fix it. That's what you do. You accept that our son is broken, and we helped break him, and now we have to save ourselves from what he's become. Sarah. A car pulled in behind us. Derek's Mercedes. Sarah's hand found mine, squeezed hard. Derek got out. So did another man, suit, briefcase, lawyer written all over him. They walked up to my driver's side window. I rolled it down. Cold air rushed in. Dad, Mom. Derek's voice was professionally pleasant. This is Richard Chen, my attorney. Mr. and Mrs. Brennan. Chen held out an envelope. You're being served with a court order for emergency medical evaluation. Mrs. Brennan, you're required to submit to cognitive and psychiatric testing within 72 hours. And Sarah's hand crushed mine. This is precautionary, Derek said. For your own good, Mom. We just want to make sure you're healthy. Chen held out the envelope. I took it. The paper was heavy, expensive, official court seal. The evaluation's been scheduled for Monday morning, Derek said. Dr. Morrison will conduct it. He's very thorough. Get off my property, I said. Derek's smile didn't waver. Dad, there's no need to be hostile. We're family. You forged her signature on bank documents. Something flickered across his face, not guilt, calculation. That's a serious accusation. Do you have proof? He glanced at Chen. Because making false allegations could be considered defamatory. The lawyer nodded. Actionable, certainly. Sarah opened her door, got out, walked around the truck to face her son. You're not taking my business, she said quietly. I'm not taking anything, Mom. I'm protecting it. From you. Derek's voice was so gentle it made my skin crawl. You're not well. Everyone can see it. The board sees it. The bank sees it. In 3 days, Dr. Morrison will document it officially. I'm not going to that evaluation. Then you'll be in contempt of court. Judge Marcus was very clear. Derek pulled out his phone, checked something. I really do need to go. Board meeting prep. But Mom, please, take care of yourself. Get some rest. You look tired. He got back in his Mercedes. Chen followed. They drove away, gravel crunching under expensive tires. Sarah stood in the cold, not shaking, not crying, just standing there with her hands at her sides. He's going to win, she said. Saturday morning, Sarah got dressed before dawn. I heard her moving around the bedroom while it was still dark outside. What are you doing? I asked. Spring equipment delivery today. Hanson's Farm Supply ordered 2 tractors. Sarah, you don't have to. Yes, I do. She pulled on her work boots. I've blessed every piece of equipment that's left this business for 40 years. I'm not stopping now. The air outside smelled like thaw, that particular scent of snow melting into mud, earth waking up. Temperature had climbed to 38 degrees overnight. The fields were starting to show through in patches. 3 farmers stood waiting when we pulled up to the business, Hanson and his son. Williams, who'd bought from Sarah since the beginning, they stamped their feet against the cold concrete loading dock. Derek's Mercedes wasn't there. Saturday was his golf day. Sarah walked to the first tractor, a John Deere 6155M, green paint gleaming under the warehouse lights. She put her hand on the hood. The metal was cold enough I could see her breath. May this machine serve you well, she said. Her voice was steady. May it break ground honestly. May it bring you harvest and your family prosperity. It was the same blessing she'd given since 1983. Simple, plain spoken, but the farmers took off their hats. Hanson stepped forward when she finished, shook her hand. Thank you, Sarah. Means a lot. Your check cleared? She asked. Yesterday, as always. He glanced at me, then back to Sarah. Derek didn't do the blessing in December when I bought the other tractor. Said it was outdated, superstitious. William spoke up. Mine neither. November? Derek had his assistant deliver it. Didn't even walk me through the controls? Sarah's jaw tightened, but her voice stayed calm. I apologize for that. It won't happen again. Don't apologize. Hanson's son was younger, maybe 30. My dad's been doing business with you 20 years. Says you're the most honest dealer in Montana. Derek's got fancy words, but you've got integrity. Williams nodded. I heard some talk in town about you stepping back, about memory issues, but he looked Sarah straight in the eye. You just quoted our payment terms from 3 years ago without looking at a file. Your mind's sharp as ever. Appreciate that, Jim. Whatever Derek's playing at. Williams put his hat back on. You got friends who remember who built this business. After they drove off, Sarah stood on the loading dock, watching their trucks disappear down Main Street. The sun was starting to come up, painting the eastern sky pink and orange. Snowmelt dripped from the warehouse roof. Did you hear that? She asked quietly. I heard. Hey, they know something's wrong. They trust you, not him. She turned to look at me. Then maybe we're not as alone as I thought. My phone buzzed. Text message from a number I didn't recognize. This is Beth from the office. Can we meet tonight? I have something you need to see. I showed Sarah. She's taking a risk, Sarah said. So are we. Beth's apartment was in one of those new complexes on the edge of town, all vinyl siding and shared walls. She answered the door in sweatpants and an old Montana State sweatshirt. Her eyes were red. I shouldn't be doing this. She let me in. The apartment smelled like microwave popcorn and laundry detergent. I have a daughter. I need this job. I understand. Do you? Her voice cracked. Because Derek said, if I talk to anyone about what I've seen, he'll make sure I never work in Granger again. And I believe him. I waited. She pulled out a manila folder, set it on her kitchen table, under the buzzing fluorescent light. I've been his secretary for 2 years. I've typed every email, filed every document, scheduled every meeting. Her hands shook. And I've watched him destroy your wife piece by piece. She opened the folder. These are the files he had me backdate. Paper after paper, memos about Sarah's alleged confusion, reports of missed meetings, documentation of errors, all dated months ago, all created in the last 6 weeks. He'd tell me what to write, what date to put on it, then file it in Sarah's personnel folder. You have the originals? I kept copies, with the real creation dates and the metadata. She pulled out her phone. And the emails. Him and Dr. Morrison. They started coordinating 3 months before Derek ever mentioned your wife having problems. The emails painted a clear picture. Derek reaching out to Morrison, explaining what kind of report he needed, offering payment, Morrison agreeing to write an evaluation based solely on Derek's observations. There's more. Beth's voice dropped. The bank thing, Callahan. I have a record of Derek writing him a check. $50,000. Personal check, not business. Can you prove what it was for? Derek had me schedule their meetings. Always the same note. Discuss S. B. Situation. She looked up. That's Sarah Brennan. I stared at the evidence. Everything we needed. Everything that could stop Derek cold. Why are you giving this to me? I asked. Beth was quiet for a moment. My daughter's 5. She thinks I'm a good person. I want to be able to look her in the eye when she's older and know I did the right thing, even when it was hard. Derek will fire you. Probably. He might sue you. I know. She wiped her eyes. But Mr. Brennan, your wife gave me that job when I was a single mom with no college degree and nobody else would hire me. She took a chance on me. The least I can do is tell the truth. I picked up the folder. The board meeting's March 15th, 2 weeks. I know. Can you testify? She looked at the folder, at her hands, at the small apartment where she was raising her daughter alone. I'll lose my job. Yes. Derek will destroy me. He'll try. She drew a shaky breath. Will it matter? Will it actually stop him? I don't know, but without this, we've got nothing. Beth closed her eyes. When she opened them, there was something hard there. Something decided. Then I'll do it. Beth, but Mr. Brennan, if I do this, if I stand up in front of the whole town and call out Derek, you have to win. Because if you don't, I've sacrificed everything for nothing. I held her gaze. We'll win. Promise me. I promise. She nodded. Looked like she might cry, but didn't. Okay, then let's burn this bastard down. The Facebook post started Sunday night. Mallory Brennan, Derek's wife, the CFO, had always been careful with her social media. Professional photos, inspirational quotes, the occasional family picture from holidays. Now she was waging war. Sometimes the hardest decisions are the most loving ones. Watching a parent struggle with cognitive decline is heartbreaking, but denial doesn't help anyone. Family first, difficult choices. By Monday morning, it had 43 likes, 12 comments, all sympathetic. Tuesday, grateful for Derek's strength during this challenging family transition. Not everyone has the courage to have these conversations. Blessed, how family business. Wednesday, to everyone asking, yes, we're making difficult decisions about mom's health. Please respect our privacy during this time, but know that we're doing what's best for her and the legacy she built. Love you, Mom. Sarah sat at the kitchen table, reading them on her phone. Her coffee had gone cold. Outside, rain fell. Not snow anymore, but cold March rain that turned the driveway to mud. She's telling everyone I have dementia without saying the word, Sarah said quietly. Anyone with sense will see through it. Will they? She scrolled through the comments. Look, so brave of you. Prayers for your family. My mother went through the same thing. Her voice hardened. She's creating a narrative. When Derek takes over, the whole town will think he had no choice. And I took the phone from her hands, set it face down. Then we create our own narrative. But the damage was spreading. Jean called that afternoon to say the hardware store owner had been asking questions. The church secretary had mentioned it to the pastor. People were choosing sides without knowing there were sides to choose. By Thursday, my phone rang. Walt, it's Tim Peterson from Peterson Hardware. I'd known Tim 30 years, bought supplies from him, drank beer at his 4th of July cookouts. Tim, listen, I don't mean to pry, but Derek was in here yesterday. Seemed real worried about Sarah. He paused, said she's been having memory problems, getting confused. Is it true? My jaw clenched. No, that's what I figured. But Walt, he's telling people. Real concerned like. Says the family's trying to get her help, but she won't admit there's a problem. Another pause. Folks are starting to talk. Let them talk. Just thought you should know. After he hung up, I stood at the kitchen window watching rain turn the fields to mud. The smell of wet earth seeped through the window seams. Sarah was upstairs, had been for an hour. I could hear the floorboards creaking as she paced. My phone rang again. Jean. Walt, get down to the bank. Now, and bring Sarah. What's wrong? Just come. Jean's office door was closed when we arrived. Through the window, I could see 3 men sitting across from his desk. Farmers. Williams, Jensen, and Thomas Halverson, all Sarah's customers going back 20-30 years. Jean waved us in. The office smelled like coffee and the peppermint candies he always kept out. Rain drummed against the window. These gentlemen wanted to talk to you, Jean said. Williams spoke first. Derek came to see us last week, separately. What did he want? Sarah asked. He wanted us to sign a letter to the board. Williams pulled out a paper from his jacket, expressing concern about your cognitive decline, about mistakes in our orders, confusion about pricing. Sarah went very still. He had specific examples, Jensen added. Times you supposedly got our orders wrong. Mixed up delivery dates, charged incorrect amounts. He looked at Sarah. Except none of it was true. I keep records of every transaction, Sarah said quietly. 40 years of records. We know you do. That's why we didn't sign. Williams set the letter on Jean's desk. But Derek's been working on this for months, trying to build a case. How many farmers did he approach? I asked. We called around. Halverson leaned forward. His work jacket was wet from rain, dripping on Jean's carpet. At least 15. Most told him to go to hell. But a few, he glanced at Sarah. A few believed him, or pretended to, signed statements saying you'd made errors. Who? Grayson, Mitchell, the Weaver brothers. Williams's voice was tight. All of them got sweetheart deals from Derek in the last 6 months? New equipment, steep discounts, favorable payment terms. He bought their signatures, Sarah said. Looks that way. Jean pushed a folder across his desk. I've been doing some digging, too. Callahan, the loan officer Derek's been working with, has been playing golf with 3 of the board members. Regular games. Always on Derek's dime. I opened the folder, receipts from the country club, all charged to Derek's business credit card. He's been positioning himself for months, Jean continued. The board meeting's in 10 days. He's got statements from farmers, a medical report from Morrison, Callahan backing him at the bank, and Mallory running a social media campaign. By the time the vote happens, half the town will think removing Sarah is a mercy. Sarah was quiet, her hands flat on the desk. Rain picked up outside, hammering the windows. But here's the thing, Williams said. He made a mistake. What mistake? He forgot that some of us remember what loyalty means, what integrity means. And Williams looked at Sarah. You've never shorted us a dime, never missed a delivery, never sold us equipment that wasn't right for our operation. 40 years, and you've been honest every single time. Jensen nodded. My daddy did business with you. Now I do business with you. That means something. Derek thinks business is about spreadsheets and golf games and who you know, Halverson added. But in a small town, it's about who you are. And Sarah, everyone knows who you are. What are you saying? I asked. We're saying the board meeting's March 15th. Williams stood. And we're going to be there, all of us. And we're bringing every farmer Derek tried to buy or intimidate. We're going to pack that meeting, Jensen said. And we're going to tell the truth, loud and clear. Sarah's eyes were wet. You'd do that? You gave my son his first job, Williams said. Taught him bookkeeping, wrote him a recommendation for college. You think I forget that? You helped my wife when she had cancer, Halverson said quietly. Delivered equipment to the farm, yourself, when I couldn't leave her side. Told me to pay when I could. Never charged interest. That's just business, Sarah said. No. Williams's voice was firm. That's character, and Derek doesn't have any, but you do. So yeah, we're going to be there, and we're going to fight for you. Jean leaned back in his chair. Derek thinks he's got this locked up. The medical report, the bank leverage, the board members he's been courting, but he forgot about the community. He forgot that in Granger, reputation matters more than reports. He's never lived here, I said slowly. Not really. He went away to college, came back for the business, but he's never been part of this town. Exactly. Williams put his hat back on. He doesn't understand that people remember. They remember who helps and who takes, who builds and who tears down. Sarah stood, shook each man's hand. Thank you. Don't thank us yet, Jensen said. We still have to win this thing. After they left, Sarah and I sat in Jean's office. The rain had softened to a drizzle. Through the window, I could see Main Street, small, quiet, the kind of place where everyone knew everyone's business. That used to scare me. Now it was our weapon. He thinks he's been playing chess, Sarah said. He has. But this isn't chess. She looked at me. It's an auction, and in an auction, you need to read the room. I thought about that, about my 40 years calling sales, about knowing when a bidder was bluffing, when the room had turned, when to push, and when to wait. Derek's never been to an auction in his life, I said. No. Sarah's smile was small, but real. But you have. That night, I couldn't sleep. I got up at 3 a.m., pulled on my jacket, and walked out to the barn. The workshop smelled like sawdust and old motor oil. My tools hung on pegboard walls, organized the way I'd kept them for 40 years. In the corner, under a tarp, sat the podium from my last auction, the one I'd retired from 5 years ago. I pulled the tarp back. Dust floated in the air, visible in the work light's yellow glow. The gavel was still there. Maple wood, worn smooth from 20,000 sales. My father had given it to me when I called my first auction at 19. I'd given it to Derek when he was 12. This is how you control the room, son. Quick, clear, confident. People trust a strong call. Derek's small hands had wrapped around the handle, his eyes bright. Like this, Dad? Going once, going twice. Slower on the windup, let the tension build. Make them want to bid. He'd practiced for hours. In the barn, at the kitchen table, in the truck on the way to school, always wanting to be like me. Until I told him he couldn't. I picked up the gavel now, the weight of it familiar, comfortable. How many times had Derek asked to come with me? How many times had I said he was too young, too distracted, not ready? The truth was simpler and meaner. I'd been afraid he'd be better than me, my son, the one I'd raised, to shake hands firmly and keep his word and honor his commitments. That boy was gone. In his place was a man who'd forged documents and bribe bank officers and gaslight his own mother for money and pride. I'd helped create him. Not just by rejecting his dream, but by being too comfortable, too distant, too proud to see what I was doing until it was far too late. The barn door creaked open. Sarah stood in the doorway, wrapped in my old barn coat. Couldn't sleep either? She asked, thinking. And she came in, her boots quiet on the concrete floor, looked at the gavel in my hands. I remember when you gave him that. He was so excited. He worshipped you, Walter. I know. My throat was tight, and I threw it back in his face. Sarah was quiet for a moment. The wind outside had picked up, a warm wind, the kind that meant the season was turning. March rain instead of snow. Spring coming, whether we were ready or not. We're going to destroy him, she said finally. At that meeting, with Beth's evidence and Rita's books and the farmers testifying, we're going to expose everything he's done. Yes. He won't come back from that, not in this town, not in this industry. She looked at me. We'll win the business, but we'll lose our son, forever. I set the gavel down on the workbench. I think we lost him a long time ago. We just didn't want to see it. Can you live with that? Can you? Her hand found mine. Cold fingers, but her grip was strong. I already am living with it. He stopped being my son the day he decided to destroy me. Now I'm just saving myself from what he became. We stood there in the yellow light. Outside, the wind rattled the barn siding. The smell of spring, wet earth, thaw, change, drifted through the cracks. I'm sorry, I said, for not seeing, for being too comfortable, for not fighting sooner. I'm sorry, too, for hiding, for doubting myself, for not trusting you enough to ask for help. We're fighting now. Yes, together. I picked up the gavel again, felt the weight of it, all those years, all those sales. All that experience, reading rooms and calling truth and knowing when someone was lying. I know how to win this, I said. Saturday afternoon, we gathered at the house. Sarah and me, Rita with her dual ledgers, Gene with his bank evidence, Beth with her folder of backdated documents and emails. The kitchen table was covered in papers, coffee pot working overtime. Outside, rain turned to mist, the air warming, the last of winter finally breaking. March 15th is 9 days away, Sarah said. Board meets at 2 p.m. at the community center. 5 board members. Gene represents the bank. Derek will present his case for my removal. He'll have his lawyer, Gene added. And Morrison's medical report. And statements from the farmers he bribed. We'll have the truth, Rita said. Truth doesn't always win, Beth said quietly. Not if it's not told right. Everyone looked at me. I'd been thinking about this for days, how Derek would run the meeting. Corporate, professional, PowerPoint slides, and medical terminology, and carefully orchestrated testimony. He'd control the narrative, manage the room, present his case like the business school graduate he was. But he'd forgotten something. This wasn't a boardroom. This was Granger, Montana. And in Granger, meetings ran on small-town rules. We don't fight him on his terms, I said. We fight him on ours. What does that mean? Sarah asked. I pulled the auction gavel from my jacket pocket, set it on the table. It means we turn that meeting into an auction. Fast-paced, high pressure. No time for prepared speeches or rehearsed answers. I looked at each of them. Rita, you present the books. Quick, clear, damning. Jean, you testify about the bribery attempt. Beth, you provide the documents. Then I start calling. Calling what? Rita asked. The truth. Rapid-fire questions, yes or no. No room for Derek to think or spin or deflect. I tapped the gavel. I've been reading liars for 40 years. I know when someone's about to break, when the room's turned, when to push harder. Sarah was watching me. You're going to interrogate him. I'm going to give him enough rope to hang himself. In front of everyone. The board might not like that, Jean said. They won't, but the farmers will, and the town will. And by the time Derek realizes what's happening, it'll be too late. I looked at Sarah. You taught me that in business, relationships matter more than contracts. In this town, character matters more than credentials. Derek's got the credentials, but we've got the character witnesses. Beth pulled out her phone. Williams texted me. He's got 17 farmers committed to showing up. They're telling their friends. There might be 50 people at that meeting. Good, Sarah said. Let them see who Derek really is. Rita's hands were shaking slightly. What if it doesn't work? What if the board votes for him anyway? Then we lose everything, I said. The business, the loan, all of it. No pressure, Jean muttered. But if we don't fight, Sarah's voice was steady, we lose it anyway. At least this way, we lose with our dignity intact. I looked around the table at these people who were risking their jobs, their reputations, their security to help us. Rita, who'd kept Sarah's books for 30 years. Jean, who'd stood up to corruption in his own bank. Beth, who was about to testify against her boss, knowing it would cost her everything. Thank you, I said. All of you. Don't thank us yet, Rita said. Thank us when we win. Outside, the mist had cleared. The sun was trying to break through. March 15th was 9 days away. We got to work. March 15th dawned with thunder. I woke to the sound of it rumbling across the fields, spring storm rolling in from the west. The air smelled like rain and warm earth. Winter finally broken. Sarah was already dressed. Navy suit, the one she'd worn to sign the original loan documents 40 years ago. Her hands were steady as she put on her earrings. You ready? I asked. No, but I'm going anyway. The community center parking lot was full by 1:30. Trucks lined the street, Williams, Jensen, Halverson. More I recognized, more I didn't. Rita's sedan, Jean's SUV. Beth's old Honda parked in back like she was afraid to be seen. Inside smelled like burnt coffee and rain-soaked coats. The meeting room held maybe 60 chairs. At least 80 people had shown up. Farmers filled the back rows, ranchers, equipment operators, men and women who'd done business with Sarah for decades. They wore work jackets and Carhartt pants and boots that had seen real mud. No one was smiling. Derek sat at the front table with his lawyer Chen, Mallory beside him, tablet open. They looked corporate, professional, prepared. Derek's eyes widened when he saw the crowd. The 5 board members filed in. Hutchins from town council, Jensen's brother Mark, 3 others I knew by sight. They looked uncomfortable. This was supposed to be routine. Instead, it felt like a trial. Jean took his seat as bank representative, gave me a slight nod. Thunder rumbled again, closer now. Hutchins called the meeting to order at 2 p.m. sharp. We're here to discuss leadership structure and loan refinancing for Brennan Agricultural Supply. Derek Brennan has requested time to present concerns about current management. Derek stood, smoothed his tie, clicked to his first PowerPoint slide. Thank you. This is difficult for me. Sarah Brennan is my mother. I love her, but love means making hard choices. And he advanced the slide, a chart showing operational metrics. Over the past 18 months, we've seen declining performance. Missed deliveries, accounting errors, customer complaints, lies, all of it, but presented so cleanly. I've tried to help, taken on more responsibility, but the problems continued, so I consulted medical professionals. Another slide. Dr. Morrison's report, dense with clinical language. The consensus is concerning. Early cognitive decline, impaired judgment, inability to handle complex tasks. Sarah sat rigid beside me. Her hand found mine under the table, squeezed hard. This isn't about taking anything from her. It's about protecting what she built. Derek's voice was gentle, concerned. The board needs to make a decision that's best for the business, for the employees, for the community. He sat down. Chen nodded approvingly. Hutchins looked uncomfortable. Does anyone wish to respond? I stood, pulled the auction gavel from my pocket, set it on the table with a crack that made people jump. I do. Derek's expression flickered. 40 years I've been calling auctions what I said. Reading rooms, spotting liars. You want to know what I see right now? Mr. Brennan, This isn't an auction, Chen said. No, it's better. Because at an auction, you can hide your cards. Here, I looked at Derek. Everything's on the table. Rita stood, walked to the front, set 2 ledgers down with a thud. 2 sets of books, she said. Her voice shook but held. The ones Derek sees. And the real ones. The fake vendors, the inflated costs. $73,000 stolen over 2 years. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Derek stood. Rita's been with us a long time, but she's made errors. Hartley Equipment Services, I said. Sharp, fast. Yes or no, does that company exist? I'd have to check. Yes or no? This isn't does that company exist. The room went quiet. Thunder rolled outside. I don't know, Derek said. You don't know. I picked up the gavel. Because you created it. You signed checks to fake vendors and pocketed the money. Yes or no? That's absurd. Did you forge your mother's signature on bank documents? Chen stood. You can't. I slammed the gavel down. Yes or no? Derek's face was red now. The loan terms required updating. Did you forge her signature? I was acting in the company's best interest. Yes or no? Yes. The word came out strangled. But she was incompetent to sign. Was she? Jean stood now. Because Derek tried to bribe me. $50,000 to destroy Sarah's payment history. Make it look like she'd been missing payments. And the room erupted. Hutchins banged his own gavel. That's a lie. Derek started. I documented everything. Jean held up his phone. Texts, emails, meeting notes. And I talked to my bank president. Callahan, the loan officer who's been helping you, took your money. He's been suspended pending investigation. Derek's face went white. Beth stood from the back, walked down the aisle. Every eye followed her. I'm Derek's secretary, she said quietly. He had me backdate documents, create false reports about Sarah's performance, schedule meetings with Dr. Morrison months before he ever mentioned concerns about her health. She set her folder on the table. Her hands trembled, but her voice stayed steady. These emails show Derek and Morrison coordinated the medical report. Morrison never examined Sarah. He wrote what Derek paid him to write. $5,000. You're fired, Derek said. Probably. Beth looked at him. But at least I can look at my daughter and tell her I did the right thing. The farmers in back started standing, one by one. William spoke first. Derek came to me 6 months ago, wanted me to sign a statement saying Sarah messed up my orders, offered me steep discounts if I did, 20% off my next purchase. Me too, said another farmer. 30%. I told him to go to hell. He's been buying signatures, Williams continued. Bribing farmers, golf games for board members, whatever it took to build his case. Hutchins looked sick. Is this true? Derek was breathing hard now, cornered. These people don't understand. Answer the question, I said. Picked up the gavel again. Did you systematically manipulate evidence to make your mother look incompetent? She is incompetent? Did you gaslight her? Move her files? Delete her phone logs? Make her think she was losing her mind? I was helping. Did you? Thunder cracked directly overhead. The lights flickered. Yes, Derek shouted. Yes, I did all of it because she wouldn't step down. She wouldn't admit she was done. She's 64 years old and she should have retired years ago, but she's too stubborn to see it. The room went dead silent. So you destroyed her instead, I said quietly. Derek's chest was heaving. Mallory had her hand on his arm trying to get him to sit. I built this business as much as she did. I made it profitable. I modernized it. But she gets all the credit because she's Sarah Brennan, the beloved owner. His voice was raw now. Well, she's old, she's obsolete, and she needed to go. Sarah stood, every head turned. She walked to the front, stood facing Derek across the table. Her son, the boy she'd raised. I have something to say about dignity, she said. Sarah's voice was steady, clear. Dignity isn't what you demand. It's what you earn, through honesty, through keeping your word, through showing up every day and doing the work. She looked at the board members. I've run this business for 40 years, never missed a payment, never shorted a customer, never lied to anyone in this room. She turned back to Derek. My son has done all of those things. He's stolen, forged documents, bribed bank officers, manipulated medical professionals. And he did it because he wanted what I built, but he didn't want to earn it. Derek's jaw was clenched. Mallory was gathering papers, preparing to leave. The board can vote however they choose, Sarah said. But I want it on record. I am not incompetent. I am not declining. I am the victim of a coordinated fraud campaign by my own child. And I will not surrender what I built to someone who thinks success means destroying other people. She sat down. Hutchins looked at the other board members. I think we need to vote. Motion to remove Derek Brennan from all positions, Jensen's brother said, and to refer this matter to the county prosecutor. Second, said another board member. All in favor? 4 hands went up. Opposed? 1 hand. Mallory's ally on the board looking miserable. Motion carries 4-1. Hutchins looked at Derek. You're removed effective immediately. You have until Monday to clear your office. Derek stood. His face was ashen. This isn't over. Yes, it is. Jean stood. The bank is approving Sarah's loan under the original terms. No competency clause, no Morrison report, and we're cooperating with the investigation into Callahan's corruption. Chen was already heading for the door, lawyer abandoning ship. Derek looked at Sarah, at me, at the farmers who'd stood against him, at Beth, who'd given up everything to tell the truth. You'll regret this, he said. No, Sarah said quietly. You will. Derek and Mallory left. The rain had started, hard, drumming against the roof. Thunder rolled away to the east. The room stayed silent for a moment. Then Williams started clapping. Slow at first, then Jensen joined, then Halverson, then the whole room was standing, applauding. Sarah's eyes were wet, but she wasn't crying. 3 days later, Derek's Mercedes was gone from the driveway at his house. Mallory's SUV, too. The realtor's sign went up by Friday. Someone said they'd moved to Denver. Someone else said Seattle. Nobody knew for sure. Nobody much cared. Beth got her job back. Sarah's first act as reinstated CEO. Rita's books went back on the main desk. The under new management sign came down. The original sign went back up, Brennan Agricultural Supply, Eston 1983. April 3rd, the first real spring day. Temperature hit 65 degrees. The fields were green with new growth. The smell of diesel and fertilizer hung in the air. Planting season starting. Sarah stood on the loading dock. 3 farmers were taking delivery on equipment. Hanson, Williams, a new customer from up near Cut Bank. She put her hand on the first tractor's hood. The metal was warm from the sun. May this machine serve you well. May it break ground honestly. May it bring you harvest and your family prosperity. The farmers took off their hats. I stood beside her. Not behind, not watching from a distance. Beside her, partner. After the deliveries, we walked back to the office together. Sarah paused at her desk. Picked up the photo that had been moved to storage. Her and me and Derek at the business opening in 1983. Derek was 7 in the picture. Small, bright-eyed, holding a toy tractor. She looked at it for a long moment, then set it face down in a drawer. You okay? I asked. No, but I will be. Through the window, I could see Main Street, the hardware store, the bank, the diner where Rita had first shown me the truth. Small town. The kind of place where everyone knew your business, for better and worse. Today it was for better. Sarah's hand found mine. Thank you, she said, for fighting. Thank you for letting me. I shouldn't have hidden from you. I shouldn't have been so easy to hide from. Outside, a robin sang. First one I'd heard this year, spring, arriving right on schedule. What now? Sarah asked. Now we work. Together. Together, she smiled, small but real. The gavel sat on the shelf behind her desk. Retired now, it's job done, the truth called, justice served. In the parking lot, farmers were loading equipment onto trailers. The sound of diesel engines, air brakes, men calling to each other, normal sounds, good sounds, the kind that meant life was moving forward. 6 weeks later, I sat on the porch at dawn with my coffee. The rain gauge showed 1.5 inches from last night's storm. Good for the new wheat. Sarah was inside making breakfast. I could hear her humming something, the first time I'd heard her hum in months. The daffodils she'd planted along the drive were blooming, yellow against the green, spring, doing what spring does. Showing up whether you're ready or not. Derek's number was still in my phone. I hadn't deleted it. Probably never would. But I hadn't called either, and he hadn't called us. Someone said they'd seen him at a Costco in Denver. Someone else said Boulder. The thing about family is sometimes blood isn't enough. Sometimes love runs out when it meets greed. That's a hard truth, but it's still truth. The business was doing fine. Better than fine. Orders up 15%. The farmers who'd stood with us brought their friends. Word gets around in small towns, who keeps their word and who doesn't. Sarah came out with her coffee, sat in the chair beside mine. We watched the sun clear the tree line together, warming the fields that stretched green toward the horizon. You thinking about him? She asked. Some. Me too. We were quiet a while. A meadowlark called from the fence line. The air smelled like warm earth and diesel from the equipment yard down the road. I used to think silence was weakness, Sarah said. That if I was struggling, I should handle it alone. And I said, now? Now I think silence was just fear. And the bravest thing I ever did was ask for help. I took her hand, warm from her coffee cup. Sometimes you win by being loud. This time, we won with ledgers and receipts and people willing to tell the truth when it cost them something. But the real victory wasn't in the winning, it was in the staying. In the morning coffee and the rain gauge and the spring that came back no matter what winter tried to do. The land remembers who loved it and who tried to sell it. So do small towns. So would we.